Hi, welcome to Nicci's vlog. Today from the fabulous city of Melbourne, where I've been working for the last week with IBM in their building. We've stumbled across this fabulous exhibition space, and I'd like to introduce you to the curator of 3 o'clock.
That's right.
Kim DeGretzer. And I'd like you to tell me a little bit about the exhibition.
Well, the exhibition we've got on here is called A Girl's Place. And it's about raising awareness about gender equality and girls' access to public spaces. We're working with Plan International Australia to bring forth some data they've given us on girls' viewpoints of gender equality and they're aged 15 to 19. And we've taken that data. We've got 10 different artists to respond to that data in terms of their interpretation of how they talk about things that they've read in the report and looked at perceptions of women and vulnerability and how we as women are presumed and shown to a greater public, I suppose.
Yeah. So I've been addicted. I kind of stumbled across it on the first day. We were here. Spent an hour and a half at least wandering around reading everything, and I've been back 4 times because I'm really quite intrigued. Well, I did come back as a boy a couple of times, and a girl twice. But the two that really struck me, and I quite like the juxtaposition of the two, is over here in this kind of narrative where you talk about how women don't feel safe in public spaces, and what we should do is try and make public spaces so that people feel safe.
More accommodating to women. Yeah. So looking at the way that we build our urban spaces and design our spaces so that they allow women more mobility and access to public spaces in a way that makes them feel comfortable.
And it's the feeling comfortable bit that kind of jarred a little bit. If you took the whole of that sentence and made it about being safer, I'm with it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
It's the making people feel safe that worries me. And what I thought was fascinating, we flipped the camera onto the art on the wall over there. When I was here the first time, I had the pleasure of meeting the artist. And Beth was telling me what had inspired her around that piece. The piece is there's 2 girls at the front, one's got the hijab on and one hasn't. And she was saying that these are girls that a friend of her actually knows, one of whom wore the hijab because it made her feel safe, and one who wouldn't wear it because she felt unsafe with it. And that's an interesting conversation about whether they felt safe with or without it. Ultimately, both girls were murdered, and so ultimately it made no difference. Both the girls were murdered. And I wonder whether or not feeling safe and being safe are 2 different things.
Well, what we're dealing with is the data that Plan had taken with Our Watch, and their data and the statistics that tell them that women are not less safe. Not saying that, obviously we had the discussion earlier on, that obviously there's a million other reasons why those statistics present that way, but currently the statistics present that women are actually not less safe than men in public. And so we've taken what we've been given in terms of the hard data and looked at why do we feel less safe. And so when the artists have responded to that, they've looked at why potentially we develop those perceptions and potentially we're treated in a certain way in public space because of the way that we've always been treated, but we've just let it happen. We've accepted those presumptions, accepted those stories, stepped over those stories as we make ourselves, the 10 women in this exhibition are all very incredibly strong, wonderful women that have really made phenomenal careers for themselves and never really saw gender as getting in their way. But then when they stop to think, they're like, oh, well, I just stepped over that, or I pushed that aside, or yeah, that's right, my mother did say that to me, or my father did say that to me. And it has affected how I view myself, and maybe in a sense that affects how we're treated by men and by governments in terms of the way that we design the spaces. So, you know, the artist over here, Claire McCracken, is what she looked at is bringing more female narratives back into our space, because there's been a lot of research done around the fact that
History of white males.
that's right. And they say that even in cities, regardless of whether it's gender, race, culture, it doesn't really matter. If you see more of yourself in the city spaces, then you feel more comfortable in that space. And they say that in a lot of, you know, developing countries where you, or even, you know, sort of Asian countries where you get a lot of women out on the streets selling things, making, you know, selling their food, selling their products, and you get almost like a female narrative that's in that there's more women out on the streets.
So you have one of those around here as the female only market. They don't let men in.
Yeah, amazing, huh? Yeah.
So the bit that I'm passionate about is this idea that women are more vulnerable on the street than men.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fact. I think the stats that show more men get attacked than women is largely down to the fact that women behave differently in public spaces.
Certainly.
Dark streets. It's different. It's down dark streets when you get something on the head. And women will avoid conflict, whereas men will ask for
That they will change their behaviour.
Yes. So my worry is if we start a narrative to our kids that says girls are as safe on the street as boys, we'll change that, because suddenly we'll have girls that walk down dark streets thinking they're safe, and we need to get the balance right.
Yeah, that's right.
We want kids to be safe.
Yeah.
We want kids to feel safe.
Yeah.
But we want that because they are safe.
Yes.
And they won't be safe unless they practice defensive behaviour. And that should be boys and girls as well.
Yeah.
But we have to recognise that most of the predators out there aren't they?
Yes.
And most of those sexual predators, at least, are looking for female. And I always like when you look at the stats for violent figures on the street, and violence has always been sexual violence. It always shifts the other way. It shifts the other way because if you're a 45-year-old boy, your chances of getting raped on the street are pretty small. If you're a 45-year-old girl, particularly if you're rocking 20, there are some people out there that would like to do things to you because you're at risk.
Well, I mean, I can't, of course, don't disagree with that. I think what Plan, and certainly the City of Melbourne and a lot of our major cities are now looking at is having those conversations with women and starting to look at how we can make those spaces actually safer in the planning of those spaces. Right. So yes, we want to create perception. We want to help women feel safer, but we also actually want to make those spaces safer. So, and that is very important about having the conversation. So, you know, looking at what makes, and that's what a lot of the artists have looked at, what makes them feel that way, and then maybe we can design the spaces to actually be safer, and maybe they will start being safer.
You could just start with removing all the cobbles.
Yeah.
So I can walk everywhere in that. So thank you very much for taking the time. I have thoroughly enjoyed this space for the last week.
Thank you.
And when you hear till?
We're here till June the 4th.
Till June the 4th. So anybody in Melbourne or comes to Melbourne, I strongly recommend you come and have a look at a girl's place. Thanks for watching. Bye.